Hey trappers, I just pulled my early season fox line. Next week's Thanksgiving. I like to finish that line up before mink season, so I can get a little bit of a mink line out. Might trap some fox later. Winter foxes, some nice prime ones, but this Saturday is the first day of the PA mink and muskrat season, the opener. And I want to just take some time here to show you a setup. I mean, everybody that watches my YouTube channel knows I like blind sets for mink. I like top edge sets. Most of the time I'm stacking up rocks to make those top edge sets. We have plenty of rocks here in Pennsylvania. But there are some situations, some bridge walls that are a little on the deep side, and I don't want to stack rocks, that high to make a mink set. So I just want to show this little item. This is called a Hangman. It's made by Dakota Line Snares. There's a lot of these type of products on the market. HAGz brackets will allow you to hold a foothold on a rod. There's a few other ones out there. This is made to hold a foothold on a rod that you can easily adjust it, and it's held by the dog. And I'll show exactly how it functions here in a little bit. But most of the guys that are using these are using them for muskrats. I don't think there's a whole lot of mink trappers using these setups where you can adjust the foothold trap up and down a type of rod. And the guys who are using them, they're in the Midwest, they're in the Dakotas, they're in places that you can take a fiberglass stake and just push it into the mud. Well, that doesn't work here real well in Pennsylvania. And also, a lot of my locations are under bridges, so sometimes you have concrete involved too. So how I use these Hangmans is I make these up. I have different lengths. This one's a 3-footer, this one's a 2-footer. And what I have welded on the base is I think it's a 4-inch by 4-inch square washer. And I just weld that to a piece of 1/2-inch rebar. Like I said, this one's 3 feet. I really can't push rebar into the ground, into the stream bed at a lot of my locations. Now I use pretty heavy weights for mink. Number one reason is I'm setting under a lot of bridges. And I'm setting some bigger water that if we would get a flooding type situation, I don't want to lose my traps. The other big reason is raccoon. Especially there's not a lot of cover under bridges for a raccoon to get hung up on, even with a long chain. So I use some railroad tie plates. I use a lot of brake rotors. Brake rotors don't stack real well. They're kind of a pain in the butt, but I let them at my locations. But how they work well with this type setup, I have different sizes of brake rotors. That actually fits the rebar, but it's really tight and it's going to be hard to get off. So it works fine just like this. I could just put that brake rotor down in the center hole, and just kind of position it that it holds it up. And for these top edge sets for mink, you don't need extreme stable. The trap doesn't need to be super stable. And also, I'm setting this up against structure, up against a bridge wall, and that makes it stable enough. So how these work, like I said, that is on that rotor. Same deal, this is just a tie plate. It's just a railroad tie plate. That one, you just slide it down through a hole. Even a brick with a brick with holes in it. You can slide down there and it'll keep it stable enough. I've also just taken large rocks and set large rocks on top of that. But since I'm using a heavy weight anyway for my drag, I wanted to incorporate the drag into the rod to hold my set or my trap. Okay, so how these work is you can do it like this. You can put the bottom hole over your rod and then add your trap or your swivel or whatever, and then put it through the top hole and tighten it up. Or if you have a long chain on it, which I do, I just don't have it on this trap here, you can anchor it right directly to your weight, your brake rotor. But if I would get a raccoon in this has a wing nut on it, and you can tighten it pretty tight, and it works really well on the rebar. I doubt it would ever slide off if you have it good and tight. And since this is through your brake rotor, it's not going to come off of that either. So, you know, you could do it like this, and you're not going to have problems with coon getting away with your trap. It's going to take this whole apparatus with it and hang up somewhere. Traps I like are Victor #2 square jaws. The trap just goes into these Hangman like so, and they set like that. You can just position this up against the bridge wall, and you got your top edge set. Your water goes down, release the wing nut, drop it down a little bit. The other nice thing about these Hangman is the trap releases from the holding device. You catch the mink, he falls down, and the weight of the trap will drown him. These are a pretty good setup. I don't use a lot of them because most of my bridge blind set bridge wall situations, I can simply just put a pretty good sized base rock there and stack flat rocks that I could use to adjust the height, which you've seen in my other video. But for those deep water situations, this setup works pretty good. And I tried a bunch of different things, and I found these Hangman are very versatile. You could do this exact same thing with a HAGz bracket. More or less, you just weld a rod to the washer, and you could use your HAGz bracket with that. Everything's exactly the same. All the Hangman is just a trap holder, same as a HAGz bracket. I just kind of wanted to show how I use my anchor weight to help stabilize my rod in situations 9 times out of 10 here in Pennsylvania. We're not going to be pushing. Maybe we could pound into the stream bottom at certain places, but we're not going to be pushing a fiberglass rod into stream bottoms under bridges here in Pennsylvania. So, all right, I just wanted to show you that real quick. I'm going to be a busy guy here over the next couple days hauling these brake rotors out. I do like to leave them at my locations, but I had to modify some of them. If you can see here, I put that eye bolt type deal on there, so I can use a Bob Best toggle through the eye bolt. Some of the brake rotors I could get through the holes. The toggle would go through the holes, and some they didn't. So I just stuck that on there to eliminate having to figure out which was which and carry wire in case I couldn't get through the holes or whatever. So, all right, till next time, have a good one, trappers.